Hello, and welcome to the Survival to Success podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about something that's a really big deal. And I learned this myself. And this topic is, do you realize just how much your environment and your clutter, and this is clutter inside of you and clutter outside of you, how much it impacts your health and every single area of your life? It is a really big deal. So today I want to talk about the physical and mental impacts of clutter and disorganization and how it impacts us in all the areas of our lives. So when it comes to our health, it can impact our health physically and mentally. So physically, if we have a lot of physical clutter, stacks of paper and just excess furniture, excess um, decorations and artwork and this and that and all these different things that really is too much and it's clutter, it can lead to a buildup of dust because a lot of times all these things, you may not even be able to get behind them to clear up all the dust. And it can lead to things like respiratory issues and just general fatigue, congestion. It can lead to allergies, can even lead to asthma. So it can be as subtle as being just slightly congested and feeling a bit tired to having a full-blown asthma attack. So it can really have an impact on your physical health when our environment, our physical environment, is really cluttered up. And so when it comes to our mental health, what is outside of us is a reflection of what's inside of us. So when we have a cluttered space, it could be a cluttered office, it could be a messy bookshelf, it could be a closet. Every time you open that closet, stuff falls on your head. It could be kitchen cabinets. When you open them up, all those containers that you've been saving for years continue to fall out, but you just stuff them back in. So all of these things, it could be papers collecting everywhere, like a really messy office. It could be maybe you have a bedroom that's really is not even a real bedroom because it's got flooring stacked in there. It's just got unfinished, and everywhere you look in the house, there's unfinished. There's no trim on the walls. The curtains are missing, the doors are missing. There's just like there's the deck is falling apart. Like there's multiple things that you can see in your environment that's considered cluttered, disorganized, unfinished. It's all the same thing. And so what that does is it causes stress, and it can be so subtle. You may just feel tired and unfocused and unmotivated, but not realize that it's your environment that's causing it. You may feel anything on the spectrum. You could feel sad, you could feel depressed, you could have anxiety, and it can have an impact even on how clearly we can think. So how clear we are on what our life is, what kind of life we want, what kind of path that we want for our lives, and just having clarity on what it is, what the heck we want with our life in general. So you can see that clutter on the outside as well as on the inside, they reflect each other, as well as it's that kind of clutter, mental clutter and physical clutter have a huge and significant impact on our health, mental health, physical health, and just every area of our life. And I'll get into that a little bit more. So when there is clutter, disorganization, unfinished stuff everywhere you look in your house, in your yard, in your environment, in your workplace, your office, wherever, then it can have so that's how we define this, is basically is too many things that causes a disorder or chaos in your environment. So it could be doors leaning up against the wall that you've meant to put on for the last 10 years, but you never seem to do it. Or curtain rods that are just leaning in the corner that you never seem to put them you never put them up, or curtains that are dragging on the floor because they're too long, but you never take the time to actually fix the things. And it's been like that for how many years? And just stuff falling apart, your house falling apart, the deck falling apart. It could be that the fact that you've got flooring that's peeling up that really could be fixed if it's done early enough, stuff like that. It could be having basically a burnt out element on your hot water tank that you just leave and you don't fix it. You just kind of adapt and and live a different way just to work around it versus actually fixing the problem. So this is the thing, right? So when you have too much stuff everywhere, that is also clutter, but it's also chaos and disorder that all kind of cause the same thing, like internally and externally, when you have unfinished projects, broken stuff, too many things around, ultimately a very disorganized, and you just live in this disorganization and you kind of ignore it and you procrastinate and you think, oh well, I'll just go out and do something. I'll go help somebody else with their field, or I'll go help somebody else with their projects, or I'll go help somebody else, put siding in their garage. And you go and help everybody else do their stuff, but meanwhile your place, like, I mean, you just, when you get home, you just ignore the fact that it's a complete disaster, and somebody else coming in would notice this and say, like, God, like, why don't you finish your own place instead of going somewhere else, right? So other people might notice it more than you do because you're so used to ignoring it. But the thing is, you're not ignoring it because it does impact your life, because it has an effect on your perception of the world and how you just kind of brush things off and put things off to the side and procrastinate. And so it changes your perception of not only how you see the world, you're just kind of like, you want everything to be easy, and oh, that's too hard to do, so the heck of it, I'll go do something else. And so it really changes your, as a being, the way you make decisions. It contributes to just, and like I said, that procrastination where you kind of just put these things off because they seem to be too much of a bother. And at the most significant end, when a person actually is in that environment and starts to notice what's around them, they start to notice the unfinished stuff, they start to notice the disaster and the chaos and the disorganization, that can really lead them to feeling overwhelmed and out of control. And they're so well practiced at ignoring it that they can basically just push that away and maybe go drinking with buddies at the bar, go for a beer and wings, or, oh, what the heck, I'll just go hang out with, some family and I'll just forget about it. So they're basically avoiding looking after their problem, and they don't even realize that it's connected to being overwhelmed because it's so much, right? And like I said, I already mentioned this, it has a huge impact on your decision-making abilities and the quality of the choices that you make for your life, because you're constantly avoiding dealing with your own stuff. You're constantly pushing it away, making excuses for it, helping other people and leaving home and doing other things, maybe avoiding your office, avoiding doing your taxes for 5 years because you don't want to face the music or the huge chaos that is your books, right? So it has a huge impact on your decision making, which then does give you the sense of overwhelm and being out of control for your life, but you may be completely unaware that you have those feelings because you will be making excuses, you will blame other people, you will talk about how you had to go help other people with this and you had to go do that. Subconsciously, it's all excuses for your own self. And so it's really and very seriously a lack of being aware of your own issues. Big time. And I have been there. So I and know exactly how this feels, because now hindsight's 2020. I can look back, I can look back and I remember back when I also had a clutter and disorganization problem. And so quite often what we see in people that have a clutter problem is basically just a real struggle to organize the space. There's no sense of priority that might be important, and just doesn't keep things neat and tidy unless it's maybe just like one section of the kitchen and one area that you sleep, perhaps, and the rest is a disaster. So disorganization, forgetting things, and just being in that general struggle of a very disorganized life in general is a common symptom of having a clutter problem. And remember, clutter, I'm using the word clutter, but it also means disorganized and having chaos around you. The second thing is that you over accumulate. So quite often you may not even realize that you have a certain tool. You may not realize that you already have a stash of ketchup from Costco, and so you buy another big 2-pack, or that you have, 10 things of almost expired dressings in your fridge, and yet you go to Costco and buy another 3-pack of, dressings, and then they sit in your pantry until they're beyond the expiry date. So there's so many excuses people have, like, oh, I bought it on sale, oh, I needed it, and this and that. But if you go and explore that person's house, you realize, oh my gosh, like, this person has an overaccumulation problem. They keep buying and buying and buying, and they have all these excuses about things being on sale. I think I needed this, or but really they have no place to put the stuff. And if they actually clean up their space, they probably have 3 or 4 of those things already somewhere. But it's just such a disorganized disaster that they can't find it, right? So overaccumulation is a really big problem. And so the third part is, a lot of times people are so attached to their excuses, so attached to their supposed reasons why they can never get to projects. They're so busy escaping and procrastinating. And really, underneath it all, a lot of times there is emotional attachment to things like personal items, even though they no longer serve a purpose. And I remember all the times that I moved from house to house and I was attached to, say, my old like university books, like from my original nursing program, and attached to those essays and those projects from school that I put so many hours into, like hours and hours of research and putting together these papers and everything and all this course material. Like, I literally had boxes and boxes and boxes and multiple shelves of all these books and courses and papers and reference materials and all kinds of stuff. And it wasn't until I hit the wall, realizing that I was, number one, disorganized. I was over accumulating. I was keeping things because I felt attached to them. I had a real connection to those things. Meanwhile, I will never go back and read one of my old papers from 20 years ago. Like, I don't have time for that. And if I'm going to go research a resource, I'll go on Google or I'll use AI or something to go research, because, realistically, I had to just give myself a good cuff and realize, hello, no, you don't, like, you're not going to go back to any of this stuff. You're not going to read it. There's nothing you can do with it. So I literally completely revamped, cleaned out all my closets, all my storage rooms, all my things, and I ended up with 15 of those huge construction bags full of garbage, plus multiple boxes, boxes upon boxes upon boxes of books that I literally gave away. And that was my first run of getting rid of clutter and becoming more organized. And I had a whole nother second run at getting rid of all of that. So I understand how easy it is to hang on to these things because we somehow feel like we need to, or we feel connected to some stuff, or we feel like we shouldn't ever get rid of it. Even old pictures. I mean, we end up sometimes with pictures that are so many copies of the same thing that you're not going to go back and look at these, 50 pictures that they're all of the same thing. Like, go through them, pick one, and throw the other 49. Like, you just don't need to keep all of that. And so when I did my second run with decluttering, I went from having probably 6 or 7 boxes of pictures and collectibles and everything like that, and I literally got it down to one plastic tub, one box. So I would still have my original baby pictures and a few little things that, is kind of fun to go back to. So this is key, is it's so easy to have this get out of control, but it has a huge impact on our life. So I've talked enough about this, so I think you grasp that external clutter is just having so much stuff, overfilled closets, messy things, unfinished projects, things falling apart around you that you don't fix. It is just a chaotic external environment, which is a reflection of how you are on the inside. And if your environment on the outside is like that, it will actually cause you to have an internal chaos as well. So this would be things like negative emotions, taking things personally, having limiting beliefs, not believing in yourself, and also self-sabotaging yourself. And this is all subconscious. So it's happening underneath the surface, and it impacts your decisions and how you treat people and how you talk to people, and how when people talk to you, you take things completely the wrong way and take them personally, and it may even be upsetting for you, but it's all connected to the internal chaos that you probably are blind to. So how clutter impacts all the different areas of our life. Of course, we've talked about the physical health. We've talked about the dust, the allergens, and such things causing congestion and fatigue. But you can also have clutter that affects your physical health. You can have tripping hazards. You could have stacks of paper that are fire hazards, maybe even some flammable stuff piled in there. Who knows? But our physical health is at risk by having us, especially having all that clutter. Not to mention that your internal clutter, what's in your mind, the stress, the overwhelm, having it impact your focus and your sleep, and having all that lead to procrastination and avoidance. These are all mental health issues that stem from all this physical chaos, correct? So you can see how your physical health, so you could have high blood pressure, you could end up having heart problems, you could end up having excess body weight. There's many things that could show themselves physically because of the result of how you feel mentally. So the physical and mental health are all very interconnected and affect each other, right? And so this is why this topic is so important. It is so important to declutter your mind, and it's so important to declutter your life and to get organized and put systems into place. And really, this changes everything. It changes your mental health, your physical health, how you feel about life, and even your relationships. Because the truth is, when you have mental clutter and you have physical clutter and disorganization and all this in your environment, it creates tension and discord between people. It creates chaos between people. It can cause fighting. It can cause issues. It can cause just where you don't feel in alignment with each other anymore. And it can be a source of embarrassment and even feeling ashamed once you start to realize, oh my gosh, how did I let my life and my environment get so out of control? And why am I not doing something about this? Like right now, what am I waiting for, right? So this is the thing, is clutter. You can see if it affects your physical health, your mental health, and your relationships. It's going to impact your work, your wealth, basically every single area of your life will be impacted by this clutter. So some tips to declutter your space, and what we can do is we can begin with what we can see. Begin with the physical environment around us. Start in one corner of your house, begin with one room, and just start small. Say, okay, I'm going to empty out this one closet and then clean the shelves and only put back into that closet what really needs to be there. So one change of bedding, I need to have one area for like maybe games and things like that, and maybe one area for towels and cloths, and all the ripped up towels, the old cloths, the games that have tons of pieces missing, the old blankets that are half ripped out, all the stuff that you can literally throw it out or donate it, get rid of the excess stuff and only put back into that closet what it is that you really need, and keep it simple, keep it small, right? And so this is the thing, this is how purging works. So you pull everything out, get rid of all the stuff that you don't need, that's broken, that's non-functional, that you'll never use again, and do it at least every 6 months or at least every year. And that's the habit that I got into, is I had it drilled into my head, spring cleaning. We've all heard about spring cleaning. So what I do is every time that it's spring, March, April, I automatically think, what can I get rid of? What is it that I don't need anymore? What is it that I need to fix or repair or organize or revamp, right? And so that is purging regularly, having a system in place so that there's a certain time of year that you completely clean and purge things and check. Is the plumbing working? Is there anything broken I need to fix? And just, if you have a broken window, replace your window. And just really focus on having a system that works for you, that will allow you to have a clutter-free, functional space that has no chaos, that's not disorganized, that has nothing broken and dysfunctional laying around. Because to keep your environment tidy and organized has a massive impact on your internal mental state, right? So just don't forget that your internal self is connected to how your external self is designed or set up. And so this is why I include this particular topic, and I go a little bit deeper into this topic in my 8-week health reset program, because when it comes to our health, decluttering and organizing your spaces and also detoxifying your mind are a huge component of achieving success for our health goals. If you want to lose the weight, if you want to have energy, if you want to feel clear, you want to lose the brain fog, you got to clean up the clutter in your environment. Okay? So in this presentation, the key takeaway here is it is so important to maintain a healthy and clutter-free environment. And now I've talked about the signs and symptoms. I've given you some tips for how to declutter. So in other words, start small, start with one thing at a time, just so you don't get overwhelmed. Do one room at a time, one corner at a time, whatever it takes. And then once you have learned how to declutter and organize your environment, then put a system together. So every spring and fall, whatever works for you, to maintain the environment so it stays that way. So overall, this is why I'm so passionate about this topic, is because clutter has major physical and mental impacts on your health and life. It can impact your decision making. It can totally change how you feel about life and the world, and you will be blind to it. And it can also impact your relationships and the way you connect with people, and on a big way, in terms of, do you have limiting beliefs? Do you feel good about yourself? Do you take things personally? Do you misinterpret things people say when they have nothing to do with you. So there's many, many, many levels to this, and it has a major impact on every area of your life as a result. And so I hope now, by going through this presentation of this podcast with me, you can see clearly just how much clutter can impact your life on every level. So I, I have been there. I was there before. I had the disaster and the closets overflowing and the stuff unfinished and just a disaster everywhere. So I know how it feels and how overwhelming it can be. But when you follow what I'm telling you and just realize how important this is for you, yes, you, and don't say, oh, well, that's other people. No, pause, take a look at your own environment and see that this does apply to you. And just be aware. That's why I'm talking about this. Be aware of how much the clutter inside you and the clutter outside of you is affecting every single area of your life. And then make it a priority to make some changes in your life. Do you want to achieve wealth goals? Do you want to have the relationship of your dreams? Do you want to have like health, like you've never, like just a normal weight, having good energy and just feeling the most amazing of your life? Well, guess what? You're not going to be able to achieve those goals if you don't clean your life up first. And so I've given you the tips on how to do that yourself, but if you feel like you need some help or you need additional tips and support for this, then please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And my email is support@dianegudmundson.com. I also have a program called the 8-Week Reset, and it's about resetting your health. And it addresses not only nutrition, it addresses moving the body and cleaning up and detoxifying, but also the third part is it involves decluttering and detoxifying the mind. And I not only use coaching like I'm kind of doing here, but also using the power of hypnosis to help with shift those subconscious limiting beliefs and those subconscious things that's leading to those excuses and those things that you're completely blind to that you don't see. And so you can go to this website. It's www.needreset.com. And when you put in your name and email, it takes you to the second page, which has 10 points. And it's kind of like a quiz. Go through those 10 points and see how many of those 10 points am I checking off? And if my life is impacted by any of those 10 things, then the 8-Week Reset program that I have designed is sure to make a huge, massive shift in your life and in your health. And so once you do that and you sign up for that and look at that quiz, please email me your results or send me a direct message on social media and let me know how many out of 10 that you noticed have an impact on your life. And then because your name and email will be in there, I will also send you a free ebook. It's an ebook I wrote about the beginner's guide to detoxifying your body and your mind. And you will find that also a valuable resource. Now, if you're listening or watching here on YouTube, I ask that you please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more of this type of information, and please share this with your friends. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you on the next episode.